Yes.
Yes. I'm so glad we're here. I love it. It's such like a funny, catty way to open up a podcast. We're just going to go, yes.
Yeah. I mean, like, what are we talking about?
Well, what are we talking about?
Habits and routines.
Habits and routines. The building blocks of being a badass. Welcome to my home.
You mean my home?
It's neither of our homes.
But it is our podcast.
Glitter and gay.
Coming your way.
So thanks for tuning in today.
Ooh. The building blocks of being a badass.
You writing that down?
I'm writing that shit straight down. Like you cannot believe.
You know, when I first started
The building blocks of being a badass. I'm sorry. You know that I have to write it down right now or else I'll forget it.
Listen, I love that.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So in coaching,
Yes.
you know, they're always like, you have to have a powerful morning routine.
Right.
You have to do things consistently. You have
Yep.
to have these habits. And so, first of all, do you have a morning routine?
Absolutely. 100%.
Can I hear it?
Okay. So yes, you can. So the first thing that I do is when I wake up, I lay in my bed for just a couple of minutes and just take in gratitude. Mm-hmm. And just like, I lay there and I'm like, okay, this is really my life. I can't believe I get to live this life. And I thank the Lord for I'm so grateful. I thank the Lord and my mother. So every single morning. And then I get out of bed and I put on my clothes and I put on a tennis skirt and a little tank top and make my coffee and water my flowers. And then I go out to my deck and watch the sunrise every single morning. And don't tell anybody, but sometimes when it rains, I even sit out there in the rain, which I know that sounds a little bit weird, but I just like to be out there or surrounded by nature in a quiet space and just...
I mean, your deck is magical.
Yeah.
You have a magical deck.
And I just look and
I have to be careful about making sure I get that E announced, huh? Great deck.
There's just so many places I could go with this. But anyway, so I sit out there on the deck and I watch the sunrise and I drink my coffee or my hot tea. And then, and I kind of respond to my comments, look at my DMs. I get the juices flowing of my social media, then post my videos. And then after I post my videos, I actually come in and I have a playlist and I turn my music up loud in my room and jump in the shower, take my shower, do the hair and makeup, and every morning, whether I'm going anywhere or not, same exact thing, hair and makeup. And then I walk out and take on the world.
Interesting. Do
Yeah.
you dance to this playlist?
Oh
Or
my
is this-
God. I dance. In the shower, I am Whitney Houston. I may be the Michael Jordan of real estate, but in my shower, I am the Whitney Houston of music. And I sing at the top of my lungs. Like you cannot believe.
Wow. I want to hear you sing.
Oh my God. You've heard me sing and I sing terrible, but Whitney Houston's One Moment in Time.
Do you know, I have two favorite Whitney Houston songs, and it's One Moment in Time and Run to You.
I love that. So One Moment in Time might be my all-time favorite song. When I was in the Miss Georgia pageant, I listened to it as my player music before I went on.
Your pump up song?
Yeah, before I went into my interview.
The key change at the end is so good. It gets me every time.
Yeah, I love that song. So I listen, but typically, depending on what my day holds, I have player music. Do you know what player music is?
I imagine it's pump up music, but is it not?
So in baseball, when the player is walking to the plate, they get to select their player music. And so I have a playlist of my player music, and I listen. If I have a lot of appointments, I listen to my player music in the morning. Or if I'm just super reflective, I default always to country. I love country music. Mm-hmm. And I dance, I sing, and then I get out of the shower, and during my hair and makeup, I listen to my romance novel every single morning.
Okay. So, but through all this is the question I get a lot.
Okay.
We also run very big businesses.
Yeah.
So what are your routines? So you get through your morning routine,
Yeah.
you're in the zone.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the whirlwind of the day?
Yeah.
And also stick to the things that we know keep our business moving forward?
I am a time blocker. And so everything is in my calendar. I start with the smallest things first. I get some momentum behind me. And then I tackle the big things after I've accomplished 3 small things.
Can I get some examples from you?
Okay. So 3 small things, team huddle, respond to texts, an email that I need to send. Mm-hmm. You know, the small things that whether they get done or not are, I don't want to say insignificant, but they're not do or die.
Right.
Okay. Because I don't want to tackle, and a lot of people would disagree. They would say do the most difficult things first. Mm-hmm. I totally disagree with that, because I think that if you get some momentum, you get some wind behind your sails. And then after that, the 4th thing is the most difficult thing I'm going to have to do. The phone call I don't want to make. The buyer or seller that I don't want to deal with. The other agent that is a pain in my ass. The inspection that's gone south. Conflict typically. So that is my 4, 5, 6. I break everything down into 3s, and I just go through and check it off the list. And what I am doing now is, rather than having a list in my phone and making a paper written list, when something comes to my head and I'm supposed to do it, I'm putting it in a Google form. It feeds into a Google Sheet, and I can check it off from my Google Sheet at the end of the day and make sure that I did everything I was supposed to do.
Okay. I love that.
And it's just because, to me, if I've got to write it down. Okay. And I'm never looking at that again. Is it on a Post-it? Is it in a notebook? Oh, I'm going to put it on a list in my phone. Which list am I going to put it on in my phone? Mm-hmm. If I just put every single thing in that form into that sheet, I can then at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I can just review and say, okay, check, 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 check. And I'm all excited going into my evening.
And that actually takes me to my next question. You teed it right up. Do you have a wind down routine?
So I do. You know me, I'm a system and process person. So I love quiet time by myself. So typically when I come home, the first thing that I do is head out to the deck and reflect on, like, what was it today that made it amazing? Like, what was it that you accomplished or that you were excited about? Mm-hmm. And I want to live in that moment of success, because then the evening is, you're not like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, I didn't get this done, like I sucked at this, I sucked at that. Like, for me, it is all about positive mindset, staying in motion, moving with momentum, and looking back with reflection and not with regret. So I am constantly reflecting on all of the great things that happen. It's very rare that I'll get into a funk. It happens from time to time. But I have extremely quick recovery. If I'm whacked out, and I used to slam the door. I used to kick the trash can. I used to lose my mind.
I really can't picture this. I kind of want to see it, but I can't picture it.
Oh my God. I was like a door slammer, like you cannot believe. I was a door slammer so bad that Wilson took the door off of the hinges. Yeah, because he knew I was going to be angry when I came in that night, and he took the door off of the hinges.
Oh, bless him.
And then,
he's like, I'm going to make this easier for both of us.
Yeah, and then he knew me so well that I would go to the bathroom and then slam that door, that he took that fucking door off the hinges.
Like,
but you know what? I haven't slammed...
Glennda Bacon.
Glennda. And it was so funny. So I walked in. I never will forget this. I walked in. I'm pissed. Victoria and I come in from cheerleading, and I'm pissed. I walk right past him. I walk right past him. I'm not going to look at him. I'm not going to speak to him. Steam is coming out of my ear. I'm so angry. And Grant and Nikki are there, and Lucas is a baby. And I just said Lucas is a baby. Yeah, Lucas is a baby. And I go up the stairs, stomp up the stairs, get to my bedroom, go to slam the door, and it's gone. And
I just picture it's such a habit and routine for you. I just picture you.
And it's gone.
And still doing the diva turn away with your hair flipping as if it was a success.
Exactly. Then I go to the bathroom because I've got to get it out to slam the door. The bathroom door is gone.
What is going on?
The bathroom door is gone. And in the distance, I can hear the kids at the bottom of the stairs laughing because he's told the boys she's going to come home and she's going to be pissed. And when she gets up there, we're going to take the door off and she can't slam it. No, I don't even do you know what? To this very day, I don't remember what I was upset about.
Well, of course not. But
I know, it was so funny. Wilson. So do you know that Wilson has been talked about? I have talked about him so much that now if you put in Glennda, one of the suggested searches is Glennda Baker husband Wilson.
Really?
Really. And I sent him a message. I'm like, do you listen to my podcast? And he goes, no. And I'm like, do you watch my videos? And he goes, no. And I said, well, I just wanted you to know. I told him, I said, I just wanted you to know that I've talked about you so much that you're now a Google search term. And he goes, you shouldn't be talking about my hidden talents. I'm like, oh God, he'll never change. But anyway, back to the subject. So I come in but I really just want to fill my day up with positivity. And I don't know if you realize this. So when I first walked in this house, I didn't realize it was this house. I didn't realize it was my mom's dream home. And I get in the door and I look to the left and I see the A-frame and I realize it's my mom's dream home, right? And I walk out on the deck and I look down and it's the winter time. So there's not as much tree foliage as there is now. And I can see Columns Drive and I can literally see my mom in that beat up Pontiac. I can see us driving along Columns Drive. And I think part of the draw of that deck is being able to look down and see us driving down that street. And so that is like my place with my mom. So every morning and every evening, that's where I am. I watch the sunrise and the sunset, and it's literally like just sitting out there with my mother.
Oh, that's so nice.
I have never, in all of the years that she's been deceased, I've never felt as close to her as I feel in this home. And it's the most amazing thing. It's done more for me mentally, physically, professionally, and personally, the purchase of this home, than I could have ever realized.
You know, I am listening to you with almost kind of like envy, because it sounds like you've really got a solid routine. You've got these habits in place. And I wish I could say that that's my case, but I am somebody who is sometimes like nailing my routines and habits, and then sometimes like totally off, and then sometimes totally on. And I'm not as consistent. And you know, what's funny is like you say that you don't really get into funks that often. Mm-mm. I do. I get into funks routinely. and they're not like awful funks where, you know, I'm slamming. I don't think I've ever slammed the door. You know, but they are just kind of like, they're more thought funks where I'm just like not operating at like that super high level. And now I know that like the first thing that's off is my routines, is my habits. And because without fail, and I'll like call a coach and I'm like, I've just been in like a funk, and they're like, have you been doing your morning routines? And I always roll my eyes. I'm like, can you ask me a more powerful question, please? I'm like, we're not going to talk about did I wake up and do my meditation and affirmations and gratitude list? I was like, that's not what the problem is. And like, we'll do it tomorrow and see what happens. And of course I wake up and I do it and I end up, my funk is gone. I'm in a great mood. And it's like these little things train our brains. I learned a really powerful lesson this year because I think I could say like 2017 and 2018, I was super consistent with my routines. And then 2019 was the worst year of my drinking. And so I was off all my routines that year. It was just like 2019 was just like a tough year in the headspace, in my outward life, and what people saw. They were like, Tyler's taking over the world.
I know.
I was like, little did they know.
Right.
I felt like I was imploding.
Right.
Anyway, the last few years, especially in sobriety, have been much more powerful, largely because the one thing that's in my routine that I can probably count on one hand the amount of times I've missed is going to a meeting every morning. And in a meeting, you almost always practice gratitude. You practice connecting with a higher power. You connect with somebody else's story. You remember that it's like important, like one of your duties as a human being is to be of service to other people. And I think of that both in my career and like just people that I can help out in the world. And so because of that, I've had a really consistent couple of years. But earlier, like right after we filmed the podcast this year, I know you know this, but I did the 75 hard. And so if anybody doesn't know, 75 hard is a 75-day challenge where every day the rules are you can follow a diet, any diet of your choosing. You just have to follow a diet. Within that diet, you are not allowed to have any alcohol and they call it junk food. So like no desserts, no cheat foods at all. And then 2 workouts a day. One has to be outdoors and they both have to be at least 45 minutes, and read 10 pages of a book a day and drink a gallon of water a day. And so what I ended up learning, so I had a few false starts. I didn't just get like right to it and nail it the first time.
And you've got to start over when you do that.
Oh yeah. If you miss one thing on the list, you're back at day 1 the next day. And I followed that rule. I would get through like 3 or 4 days and I would quickly learn that if I didn't have most of my water drank in the morning, that I probably wasn't going to hit my water goal. I learned if I didn't do, because of my work schedule, if I didn't do one of those 45-minute workouts first thing in the morning, the 45-minute workouts are not allowed to be back to back. They have to be at least 3 hours apart. So you can't say I worked out for an hour and a half and call it a day. So if I didn't do at least one of them in the morning before work, I knew I was destroyed. And these were things that I learned throughout it. So because of this, during those 75 days, when I got successful with it, I was batching as much of it as I could in the morning. And so I was waking up, I was reading 10 pages while I was still in bed. And then I was adding things that I just knew were helpful to me, because then all of a sudden I was in this really powerful state. I was like, I've been reading and I wake up and I meditate and I've become a prayer person, which I can't even believe is like a thing for me. I was just never a prayer person until recently. And then I would write my gratitude list, and then I would do my first workout. And then during that workout, I had a big like gallon jug of water. And my goal was that by the time I was going to work, half of it was gone. And that way I was like, I can relax about water the rest of the day. It's going to be easy to finish the other half gallon throughout the day. And then I knew all I really needed to do outside of that was stick to the diet and to get in one more workout. And once I fell into that rhythm, I got to tell you, I felt like the king of the world, just like an absolute boss. You could not touch me. And every single day I would like post, because there's like this little app with the checklist. I would post and people were like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing it. And I got to tell you, the first 30 days were like hard because I was like, am I doing this again? But after I got into that routine, not only was it not hard, I actually felt like I was ready for a new challenge. I was like, up the ante. I didn't, but it was just funny to me because at that point, people were like, I can't believe you're still doing it. I can't believe you've been so consistent. And in my head, I was like, honestly, it feels like a piece of cake at this point. And I had to remind myself that I had all these false starts where I couldn't get through the first week. And I had gone from that to thinking it was easy and that I was like ready for something even more challenging within 30 days. And since then, this has been a topic that's been on my mind a lot. It's like the power of consistency, the power of routine, the power of habit, and how quickly things that seem challenging and daunting just become part of your system and your processes, and they just exist in your world. And meanwhile, everybody around you is like, how are you pulling this off? And you're like, this is just who I am. This is just what I do.
Yeah.
And there's so much confidence in that. And within that, it's easy to get knocked off your routines. And so I wasn't sharing this because it's not part of the program. But I was routinely weighing in and my weight was not changing. And my motivator for doing 75 hard was weight loss. Last year, I think I got lazy. I was in a relationship. We were eating out all the time. We weren't working out as much. We were having lots of just like cuddly romantic nights at home. I just wasn't the active person that I
dinners at Lulu's with that dessert.
Oh my God. And that was like one of our favorite things is like, because we could wake up in the middle of the night and be like, I want dessert. And it was like cute at the time. You know, for me, the weight, since I've like lost weight, my thighs are gigantic. And so people are always shocked by this number because I'm 6 feet tall. And like the number where I feel really good is usually between like 190 and 195. That's like a number for me where like I like the way my clothes fit. I like the way I look naked. And I had been consistently there for like 5 years. I'd kind of lived in that number. I had found a way of kind of like weighing that much without even having to think about it. You know what I mean? It was like, that's, by the way, that's the life I want. I want to like have a balance of enjoying things enough where I'm not freaking out about anything I put in my body because I'm like, it all comes out in the wash, right? So towards the end of 2021, get on the scale and I'm almost at 220. I'm like 219 and change. And I had a little freak out because honestly, and that's how much I weighed last time we filmed this.
Really?
And I was like, I had gotten back up to like 220. And that's why I was in hoodies the entire time, was because I was just like, no, I don't like the way, I don't like the way any of my clothes fit. I feel chubby and gross again. And I was like, what has happened to me? I haven't done this in 6 years. So my goal was to lose weight. You know, so I started at 219 and change. I finished the 75 hard. I'm weighing in like almost every day in the beginning, and the weight is just not changing. And I'm eating healthy. I'm working out twice a day. I'm active. I'm doing all the things. And I think I was down to like the last 15 days and I had lost like 4 or 5 pounds total across 2 months. And so of course I'm like pretty bummed and I'm in a bad mood and I keep almost quitting. I keep almost being like, well, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
You know, like this is dumb. What am I doing? But I don't. I'm like, I'm too close. I finish and I just celebrate what it was. I was like, I didn't talk about not getting the results I wanted. I talked about the achievements and I went into the positive place. That actually, when you were talking about sitting outside and focusing in on like the things that you were proud of that day, I got to the end of it. I was like, I have a lot to be proud of.
Yeah.
I was like, I did all of these things every single day for 75 days. Didn't get the results I want. It is what it is. The next day, I'm in habits and routines now. So I just kind of keep doing it. But I took the pressure off. You know, I'm not posting. I'm not doing it on an app. And I'm not really thinking about it anymore because even though the weight didn't change, I felt awesome at the end of the challenge. I was like, oh, I feel amazing now. I kind of feel like Superman. And so I was like, I'm just not going to weigh myself in anymore. And so that goes on. I think I finished it in like, I guess I probably did it for April, May, and I guess like half of June. And no, I'm sorry, March, April, and like half of May. That's what it was. And so I don't really weigh myself for like another month and a half. Mid-July, all of a sudden I'm like, my clothes fit very differently. I was like, and I'm like, honestly, I'm getting hit on a lot. And I'm just like feeling myself all of a
And
sudden.
you're like, thank God I don't have to wear those hoodies because it's hot.
I know. And it's starting to be beach weather. And I'm like going to the beach and I'm like, no, I was like, I look great. And so that day when I get home, I was like, you know what, I'm going to weigh in. And I was like, why not? And I get on the scale and I was 182. And right now I'm like 179. It's the lowest I've ever been in my adult life. I've never been in the 170s ever. And so I come back to like the power of, because I'm definitely not working out twice a day, but I've just been consistently going about things. I've been consistently waking up and showing up and being active and staying, focused on everything, on my work, on these new routines that I have. I switch up my workout a lot. People are like, what are you doing? I'm like, lots of different things. Sometimes I take Soul. Sometimes I take berries. Sometimes I'm on Peloton. Sometimes I'm just, do you not know what any of those are? You just look so confused.
Okay. Number one, I have a Peloton bike.
Okay.
Granted, it's in the storage room in the basement. I do have one. I know what Soul Cycle is. What is Berry?
You know what? I doubt there's a berries down here. It's very popular in New York. It's like a boot camp class. It's really hard.
Oh, was he an infomercial?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe. But
right.
It's like half of it's an hour-long class and like half of it's sprinting on the treadmill and then half of it is like weightlifting on the floor, and you kind of rotate through these things.
Oh yeah, there's a girl here who has a gym called Blast. Yeah, got it, Chief. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then a lot of times I just like to go do my own thing. But for me, the lesson there was, getting on the scale, having better results than I've ever had before. I can't tell you how many times I almost quit doing the 75 hard because I wasn't getting that instant gratification. And like, this is just like the thing that is like for me coming up over and over again is I was like, it's all in the little consistent actions. It's not about doing it for a week or a month. It's, and have you read Atomic Habits?
Yes.
He's got a few great quotes in there, but he talks about challenges like this. And he's like, the thing about doing a set day of challenges is he was like, I like it. He's like, it gives you something to work towards. He's like, it's a small short-term goal. He's like, but everybody always says, how long does it take to form a habit? And he's like, some people think it's 30 days. Some people think it's 90 days. Some people think it's a year. He's like, the answer is forever. He's like, because a habit never ends. He's like, you do it for the rest of your life. Right. They grow, they expand, you get better at them, you layer new things in. He's like, but by definition, he was like, there is no end date to a habit. And he was like, and that's why I don't like those challenges. He was like, because they imply that this new routine you have is over in 90 days. And he was like, then it's not a habit. He's like, then it's just this thing you're trying.
Yeah.
And so I think I have found a consistent health routine. I'm layering in now a consistent morning routine. And I'm starting to just like trust that all these small things are going to add up to something great, which I think is a topic of an episode coming up. So we can pineapple right there.
Okay. Pineapple.
The Napples have spoken.
No.
This Napple has spoken. Why don't you like Napple?
Hey, Glennda and Tyler. This is Casey Baker from Atlanta, Georgia. Technically Marietta, but Glennda, we can keep that between us. My question is about changing people's mindsets. So here's a little backstory. I spent the last 10 years as a middle school band director. Yeah, you heard that correctly, middle schoolers with noisemakers in their hands. I dedicated my entire life to perfecting my craft and being there for my students. I never intended to change careers, but there were too many signs for me to ignore, and I decided to take a step out on faith. I finished out the school year and resigned from my teaching position in May to pursue a full-time career as a real estate agent. All of that being said, anyone who knew me as a band director knows my work ethic and my passion for people. But I'm not sure they think of me as their real estate expert. I'm hustling. I'm putting myself out there, hosting open houses and making calls. But how can I get my former colleagues and band parents to see me as their go-to agent and not just a girl who taught their band babies for the past decade?
Do you know Casey?
Do you know who that is? Yes.
Oh, wait, really?
Yes. Really.
Oh, wait a second.
Wait, this is what we need to be talking about. You do know who it is, right?
Of course I know who it is. She's the one. She came up with some good ideas for us.
Yes.
All right.
And so just wait.
Okay.
Before we answer her question, which we're going to do, we're going to listen to her suggestions.
I would like to say I did not know that Casey Baker used to be a band teacher.
Really?
Are you guys like friendly here?
I've never ever met her. I had no idea who she was until she made that story about our.
Really?
I had no clue who
Did you
she
know
was
until just now that she's a local?
No, I had no idea she was even a. I didn't. I hate to say this, but I don't know that I knew that she was a realtor here in Atlanta. I don't even know that I knew she was a realtor or a band director or anything. But
She might need to get on the Diamond Squad.
I'm telling you. So I reposted something that she said, or I reposted her thing, and she said this episode was meant for me to hear the not so great stuff. Okay, and then she did The Road is Paved with Dead Squirrels Who Failed to Make a Decision, and Don't Be Roadkill. She used the Giphy, and then she this was my favorite. Darn it, will it open?
The latest episode of the Glitter and Gay podcast, and Tyler Whitman was like, this episode's probably going to be the one that people skip to because Glennda Baker's talking about TikTok, which is phenomenal information, by the way. However, Tyler, ain't none of us skipping episodes, sir. We are listening to every single one. And if somebody does skip to get to this episode, they're probably going to go back and binge the rest because this podcast is gold.
Okay, so
I love her.
I love her. Okay, so then my sweet friend Casey comes up with some name suggestions.
Names for our listeners.
I just got finished listening to this week's episode of the Glitter and Gay podcast, and you know your girl's about to hype it up. However, Tyler and Glennda were asking on Instagram what they should call their listeners. So me being me, I'm just going to throw out a couple ideas and see what sticks. We've got the Glitz Scala, the Shine Squad, the Gleam Team, Sparkle Sovereignty, Standout Society, and you could just go old school and call us G2 or G squared. Let me know.
I'm telling you.
Is that Denver now?
Yeah, it was
Switched
Denver.
to a Denver
Yeah.
video. So first of all, she has the it factor.
She does.
She does.
She does.
And so I want to make sure she gets her question answered
Okay.
because this is somebody I believe in, you know.
Absolutely 100%.
Yeah. I think what?
Glennda Studios. I wonder if she did an application for Glennda Studios. Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Sorry.
So there is, and I'm sure you've run into this too, there's just some people that you meet, they have that magnetic energy.
Yeah.
They've got this thing that, and I think she probably got it because band isn't just teaching, middle school band isn't just teaching a class. My band class was like 150 kids.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the person leading it is a boss. right?
Absolutely.
And so you have to have your story. And I'm sure I can't make up a story for her, but there's a story in there.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, I like to be in charge and in control and helping people find their passion and helping people live their dreams. And, you know, I was doing it with these kids in this school. And then I realized there was a deeper way to connect and help this community. And, you know, I decided to take my passion and my energy into being a real estate agent. I'm making this up. I don't know what
Yeah.
her actual story is. But there's going to be something so powerful in there. And I love her. She can totally reach out to me and run it by me, and I can help her tweak it and edit it. But our actions and the way that we handle situations and dictate things, sometimes in the beginning, you have to overcompensate a little bit so people know that you're not the high school, the middle school band teacher.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you have to show maybe an extra layer, unfortunately.
Right.
Because people have to disassociate you from the person that they knew and from the identity that they knew. And, you know, my life coach, who I have given a lot of accolades to, Vivace Max Victor, one of her great stories is that so beforehand, she was a physician's assistant in plastic surgery. She had a great career and she did that for like 12 years. And she told everybody back then that she was leaving her position to become a life coach. And everybody was like, you're going to leave this high paying medical position to go be a life coach? And she was like, absolutely. And nobody took her seriously. And so she changed her name legally. And to this day, I know that Vivace Max Victor is not her legal name. And that's part of her brand story, but she will not tell anybody what her legal, it is her legal name because she had it changed to that. But she has told nobody what her name was because she was like, you don't trust me? She's like, then I will change. She was like, you have to be reborn of this identity. Now, I'm not telling her to go change her name, but like that needs to maybe be the story behind you. Your identity right now within your community, and you are a big part of that community. If you were a band teacher and all of these parents associate you as band teacher, you're gonna have to, whether it's with something with your personality, whether it's with a marketing tactic that you do, you're gonna have to do something to reassociate this transformation that you're going through, because it is a transformation going from a band teacher to a real estate agent.
Absolutely, 100%. I would really play off of that. I think that teachers do well as real estate agents because they have the ability, number one, to explain well. They have the ability to explain typically in a manner that appeals to a lot of different people. And on top of that, she probably has, obviously, if you can control middle schoolers, you can control anything. So she's got system and process. So I will tell you, if parents have trusted you with their children, the likelihood that they will trust you with their home is probably pretty good.
Yeah.
And
that could be part of her pitch.
Absolutely, 100. I would incorporate that all day, every day, because if, you know, I've been entrusted with thousands of children throughout my career, your house is probably the only other asset, the material asset that you value as much as your kids or something. And I would go with that. But it sounds like to me that she's getting a little discouraged because she's not seeing results. And it kind of reminded me about what you were saying, was that you had this habit and you weren't seeing the results, and so many times you wanted to quit. And I think that a lot of people don't understand that right before the breakthrough,
there's a breakdown.
And so, but I will tell you, I would get through that. And the only thing that I would focus on was, I'm probably one of the only people that has not only been trusted with your child, but that is trusted with your home.
Reminds me of one saying in AA, don't quit before the miracle, honey.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. She's got the it factor.
She does.
She's awesome on video. And I would almost make musical skits about real estate.
Yeah.
I would get my guitar out. If she's a band teacher, surely I'm sure she can play an instrument. I'd get my guitar or my violin or my piano, and I would literally talk about the real estate transaction musically.
All right. And because you've been so generous with your posts, Casey, tell your friends to like, share, subscribe, rate, and review.
And she could do a little jingle for us.
Oh my God, we would love a Casey jingle.
A Casey jingle for Glitter and Gay. For the Sparkle Squad.
We're not calling them the Sparkle Squad. See you later, Napples.